Hello and welcome to episode 2 of my Audi S3 long-termer video diary series. And today I'm going to tell you about 4 things I like about the car so far and 4 things I don't like so much. Nice and simple. Now, I haven't had the car for that long, but it has been enough time to form some clear first impressions. They might change over the next few months, but here's what I think of the S3 right now, starting with the good stuff. So, first thing I really like, and it's the powertrain. For those that don't know, this car has a 2-litre, 4-cylinder, turbocharged petrol engine. It makes 310 horsepower, 400 newton meters of torque. It accelerates from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 4.8 seconds, and it has a top speed that's limited to 155 miles an hour. It's also got a 7-speed S-tronic gearbox, that's a dual clutch automatic gearbox, and that feeds the Quattro all-wheel drive system. Put all of these ingredients together and the result is an awesome powertrain. The S3 is quick on paper, but more importantly, it feels fast. A strong surge at low revs is followed by an explosive turn of pace above 4,000 RPM, with that extra burst of speed lending the engine more character than many give it credit for. It's not just about outright pace either. It's also how easy it is to achieve said speeds and use the available power. For example, the gearbox is always primed to let you quickly maneuver out of a junction or kick down for an overtake. It does an extremely good job at reading what you want it to do next. And because you've got the flawless Quattro all-wheel drive system, it doesn't matter what the weather conditions are, you just put your foot down and you get the absolute maximum available power. It just goes. I mean, you can see why they use these cars as police pursuit vehicles. It feels like you're using a cheat code in real life. On to the second good point, and it's also got an element of cheating about it. You see, the engine noise you hear from inside the cabin isn't the same as the sound from the outside, because like many cars now, it's got an artificial engine noise piped in through the speakers. Now, some people hate this idea, but I'm really not against it, because in this they've given it a low, rumbling 5-cylinder soundtrack, so it actually sounds a little bit like the Audi RS3. Is it authentic? No. Do I care? No, not really, because if it was covering up something like a glorious V6 soundtrack, then yeah, it would be a total waste, but the sound of a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol, it's not going to go down as one of the all-time greats, this engine, in terms of how it sounds. So to give it an extra bit of character with what is a really well integrated augmented sound system, I've got no issues. Ooh. And it does sound good, even if it isn't entirely real. Next up is the infotainment system, and Audi pretty much always do a good job with this, and it's no different in the S3. You've got a 10.1-inch touchscreen, and it comes as standard with things like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you've also got 3D mapping and live traffic information, and 3 years worth of subscription to Audi's Connect services, which includes weather and news apps, which are actually pretty handy. But most importantly for me is that it looks very premium with nice graphics on the menu systems, but also the layout is super simple. So it looks and it behaves like a really polished, expensive infotainment system. Also, unlike some other Audis, you've also got physical buttons for the climate control and the heated seats, which I reckon is super, super useful. I just wish that there was still some shortcut buttons for the multimedia system so you can skip to, for example, your favorite radio station without having to go into the infotainment system. Final good thing I want to highlight are the small details on this car that make a big difference. For example, the armrest is a thing of beauty. Soft and padded, yet sturdy and adjustable, the VW Group has always made an excellent armrest, and this is no different. You position the height where you want it, and then slide it forward or back. Simple, easy, and effective. The same can be said for the luggage net in the boot. Part of the standard fit storage pack, it's a must-have for those who are partial to an enthusiastic drive and don't want their luggage and shopping going absolutely everywhere while zipping down a fun bit of road. Trust me, I've been there. Now, onto the bits that I'm not so keen on, and the first is the lack of keyless entry. And I know it's a first world problem, it is, but when you've got a brand new Audi and it costs around £40,000, then surely it should be standard and not a 425 quid option. The only thing I can say in its defense is that the BMW M135i, which is around the same price again, it also has it as an optional extra. It's not standard, and actually as an option on that, it's part of a pack and it's even more expensive than this. But I don't know, come on guys, surely this sort of thing should be standard. Something else that the S3 doesn't come as standard with is adaptive dampers. And that's fine, I'm not saying it should, but I would be interested to know what effect they have on the next two issues I've found. The first of which is the ride. I know that this is a performance car, it's a hot hatch, so comfort isn't as high a priority as it would be on, for example, a regular A3. But even so, I expected the low-speed ride quality on this car to be a bit more polished. Now, I would be intrigued to find out if that changes with the adaptive dampers. I expect it would, because of course this is on the passive dampers. And I've also noticed that actually the tyre pressures feel to me pretty high. It's 41 at the front and 38 at the back on this car, which is what Audi recommends. And from what I can see, they've recommended it on Audi S3s for years now. But to me that feels quite high, so I'm wondering if it's worth taking a couple of PSI out just to see how that might affect the ride. So I'll do that and I'll let you know what happens. But also keep an eye out for a video when I do test an Audi S3 with the adaptive dampers to see if the ride quality improves a little bit. I have to caveat this by saying that at higher speeds and at mid speeds even, there's no issues at all with the ride. It's as I'd expect it to be. It's actually pretty good. It's just at low speeds where it feels a bit jigglier and it transmits the bumps, the sharper bumps, into the cabin more than I'd expect. You would, however, hope that a firmer ride quality would, in general terms, equal better body control, so it stays flatter in the corners. And as I'll get onto in a later episode, this car handles extremely well. It's actually the best handling S3 I think they've ever made. But I've got to say that coming into medium and high speed corners, there's more roll than I thought there would be. I mean, you can feel it, you can appreciate it. You've got the car pushing away and the car rolling away from the apex. It's not a disaster by any stretch, and it's not over the top, but to me this rolls more than the A35 and also the M135i. And I do think it takes a bit of getting used to, because usually you'd associate roll with a car that isn't perhaps focused at going around corners quickly, but of course this is, and once you see past that body roll, it's excellent. But I have noticed it, and I wonder if anyone else has, or is it just me being overly fussy, which it could be. And again, I'd be really interested to see how having adaptive dampers fitted affects the body roll on this car. So, as I said before, definitely keep an eye out for a future video on that subject, because I reckon it'll be quite intriguing. Final thing I want to talk about, and I am scraping the barrel, I know that, but it's the brake dust that this car generates. For some reason, it creates more brake dust than any other car I've ever driven. And it's probably just down to the pads that they're using, but even so, it looks all shiny and nice now because we've done it for the cameras. When I drive this car home, about an hour, it'll be covered in brake dust again. And that means that these nice silver wheels get a kind of a grey tinge to them, which is a shame considering how good they look when they're clean. So, small issue, but I'd love to know if anyone else is experiencing the same thing. So there we go. Those are my initial likes and dislikes on the Audi S3 Sportback. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got an S3 and you want to add to this discussion, then please use the comments box below, because I'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on for the next video, where I will be comparing the S3 with its bigger brother, the RS3. And you do not want to miss that.